Support for today's show comes from Bin 113. Looking to grow your winery's direct-to-consumer sales? Bin 113 leverages proven marketing expertise to help U.S.-based wineries like yours acquire and retain more customers. With over 100 years of combined experience, we make your D2C marketing as exceptional as your wine. Visit bin113.com to learn how we can help you sell more wine.
So a friend of his, and around after a couple of years of just owning the land, was like, what are you going to do with all that land? Did you know that if you plant something, there's something called agriculture tax discounts? Dad's like, oh, hey, what's that all about? Which is a horrible origin story.
Good afternoon, Sandra.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm happy to be here.
It's nice to be sitting with you again after
Nice to be
this
side by side.
sojourn
Yes.
of ours. So I think we're in for a real treat today. We're going to interview a winemaker
And owner.
From the state of Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And when people think about the state of Georgia, its nickname is the Peach
The Georgia Peach State.
However, being a very agricultural state, Georgia actually produces more blueberries, peanuts, and pecans than do peaches. But where do grapes fit in?
I know, and I think about it, it's like, what a challenge being so far south with the intense heat there. I'm just really interested. I don't really know the topography of Georgia very well, and I'm really interested to hear how they chose their grapes and what the land is like.
Yeah, and I know coastal Georgia much better than I know the area that Yonah Mountain is located in. A couple of other things about Georgia. It is home to the world's busiest airport, as you have undoubtedly.
I've been stuck there.
Through, as I have.
I got stuck in a snowstorm in that airport. Wow. What? Come on.
They'll come up with any reason to delay your flight coming in and out of Atlanta. It's home of the world's most prestigious golf tournament, the Masters, which is coming up in just a few short weeks. And my favorite thing about the state of Georgia is that they have got what is likely the most entertaining minor league baseball team on the planet.
Oh, what are they called?
The Savannah Bananas.
The Savannah, I think I've seen videos of them.
If you haven't, go on YouTube. They are absolutely historic.
They're very funny. Well, let's go meet Eric.
Let's do it. Mm-hmm. Good afternoon. Eric Miller, who is the owner and general manager of Yonah Mountain Vineyards in Georgia, the state of Georgia. Is joining us for today's conversation. Eric, thanks so much for joining us on Wine Across America.
Great, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. Drink on the job.
That's awesome.
So let's begin in what I think is the most obvious place, because I think people think about the state of Georgia and they think about peaches and perhaps pecans and peanuts. I'm not sure if too many people out of the Georgia or the South in general really think about Georgia as being a wine producing state. So fill us in. What can you tell us about why you're there, how you got there, and what's happening in the great state of Georgia?
Well, that's a lot. That's a lot to load me up with there. So to begin with, we were the 12th winery in the state. We bought our land here in 2005. We started planting our grapes in 2007. We were selling wine by 2009. All of this originally was just supposed to be another project for my father, who tends to always need to have a project. He's one of those people. He was supposed to be retired from since 1998, and then that didn't set well. So my mother actually suggested that they buy some land up here in Cleveland, Georgia, and we bought 200 acres. And without any intention of building a winery or planting grapes or doing any of it.
Wow. Now, just for our listeners, Cleveland, Georgia, when you think of the state map, which area of Georgia is that?
All right. So you always you think about Atlanta. So you got the Atlanta and Atlanta metro area. It is about an hour and a half northeast of Atlanta.
Gotcha.
So that's going up the 85 corridor. And then you cut over it's actually 12 to 15 minutes outside of Helen, Georgia, which a lot of people are familiar with.
Very good.
So
your family bought all this land, and your dad needed a good project, so he decided to build a vineyard.
Yeah, we always have to have a project to keep Bob out of trouble.
That's
That's
good.
mainly our goal. And so a friend of his, and around after a couple of years of just owning the land, it was like, what are you going to do with all that land? Did you know that if you plant something, there's something called agriculture tax discounts? Dad's like, oh, hey, what's that all about? Which is a horrible origin story. But then that's kind of, here's the project. This is how we started. So by 2011, they had already started making wine. There were about 4 employees, and they realized that this was actually real work. And that's when they called me and they said, we need you to come run everything. We didn't actually want to do any real work here. So I had to quit my career of teaching drums and percussion and music, which I used to do professionally for 19 years. I started the Atlanta Falcons drum line. I used to teach at Georgia Tech for 12
Wow.
years, and I
Wow.
ran a 501c3 indoor music group. So we come from a musical family, and all that they struck at the right time in 2011 when I had just had my second daughter, and now I have three, and they're a lot. So they take a lot of my mental and creative space. And so they struck when the iron was hot. And so since 2011, that's when I came on full time. And that's when Dad really got excited to make this kind of a legacy thing. And so now this became a family business. And so since 2011, we've
That's
now grown. We started doing weddings in 2015. We expanded after COVID, and now we have over 350 seats outside. We now have 3 rental cabins, which I call bear B&Bs because Yonah is the Cherokee word for bear. I don't know if you guys know this. So the bear is our
Oh.
symbol. I guess I should set up the joke before I do the bear B&B. Anyway, so we have 3 bear
Your
B&Bs.
website is gorgeous and the facility is absolutely
Great.
beautiful. And you've got, the weddings. And I saw those 3 cabins. I was trying to pick which one I would want to. I like the maple cabin. I saw that one, very cute.
Oh yeah,
And so you must do a lot of events and things that you.
we do. We do at least 2 to 3 events every month. We even do
Wow.
something that we developed out of something just from our philosophy. It's called the reserve wine tasting, which is actually a blind taste test. Because as Dad likes to explain, like we didn't know, at quote, nothing about the wine industry. And so over these last 18 years, like we have been, we're all in. And so Dad said, if we're going to make wine, we need to make the best wine in the world. Of course, that's his standard. And he's like, if we're going to make wine, I want it to be vinifera. I don't want to make muscadine. I don't want to make fruit wines. He goes, I want to have wine that I actually want to drink and as good as
Yeah.
anything that we drink out of California. So that's always been our standard, not knowing how high of a bar that is. So from day one, Dad was like, if we don't like it, we're going to dump it down the drain. We're going to spare no expense when it comes to making the wine and the quality of the wine and the ingredients and the barrels and everything that we do is going to be first class. So
Wow.
that being said, we it has been an interesting challenge trying to get our wines as good as anything. And I think we were talking about the events. So now it's progressed. I'll fast forward. Every month we do a blind taste with wines, California and France and Italy, and wines that are Bob's favorite world-class wines. Because his philosophy is, how good are you? How do you know how good you are as a winery unless you're tasting against the best in the world?
Right.
Mhm.
And so all of our friends and and staff members, we used to just do that with our winemaker on a Tuesday. He's like, okay, well, this is what we have in the barrels, and we're gonna taste it. And Bob would be like, oh, hang on, I've got a wine over here. This is a $400 bottle. Let's try it. And the winemaker's like, no, we're not anywhere. He's like, no, we're gonna try it. I want to see how close we are. And so then every week we'd be trying world-class wines against our wines. And so then friends were like, how do we get in on the
Yeah, I would
Tuesday meeting?
think people would want to be into that. That's really fun.
So-
Exactly, right? So then it started, we did it twice a year, and then we did it 6 times a year. So now we've been doing it for 12, 13 years. We do it
Wow.
every month.
That's really
That's
cool.
interesting. So tell
One
us
of
a
our
little bit.
yeah, one of our events is every single month, second Sunday of every month. We call it the Reserve Blind Taste.
Wow.
And when we first started it, I'm like Googling things. I'm like, okay, who does blind tastes? How much should we charge? What do we do? No one does blind tastes. You can't find another winery that'll put their wines and, officially taste
To
against somebody
compare
else,
them against some of the greats. That's
right?
really
So
interesting.
that's exactly what we do. I always tease that if we didn't win as much as we do, we would stop doing it because Dad does not like losing. So we win about 75% of the time, and we do it blind. Everyone who comes, it's anywhere from 12 to 36 people, and we have like paired courses, and we do all these wine comparisons. We're actually doing one this Sunday, and
Yeah.
it's some of the funnest things that we do.
So tell us a little bit, as you know, there are a lot of variables that go into making high quality wines. Tell us a little bit about the climate, terroir. I mean, how is it that Cleveland, Georgia turned out to be a place where great wines could be made?
Because it
That,
is a
that's
challenge. You're in a very warm area. So did those choices to grow wine there, did it affect when your growing season is, when you're harvesting, all of that? I'm just really interested.
It's not as bad. It is pretty much the same. It's the if you want to look at it on a in the globe, for those if there are people that really get into the nitty gritty of winemaking, there's two regions. If you look at a globe, right, there's two wine regions. Is it like the 5 and the
It's
10?
30 degrees to 50 degrees
30
latitude.
to 50 degrees, right? So it's the
Yeah.
two latitudes that go around the globe. So if you look at our latitude all the way up in North Georgia, we are right at the bottom
Yes.
of the latitude that lines up with Northern Africa and Southern Italy. So and elevation is the other aspect to it. So where we are in Cleveland, we are 1,200 to 1,800 feet above sea level. So that you need at least 1,000 feet to grow the vinifera grapes.
Mhm.
And everything that we chose to grow, our philosophy was a lot more simplistic at the beginning. Was we didn't want to grow anything that we'd never heard of. This is Dad's idea. He's like, I don't want to grow some crazy grape and then try and sell a wine that no one's heard of, because I want to sell things that people have heard of. I like Chardonnays, I like Cabernets, I like Merlots and Malbecs and Sauvignon Blancs. And that was like,
And it's smart though. Those are all grapes that do well in warmer climates.
right, right. And so it just happened to work out that way. So we have a thriving Chardonnay. Our Chardonnay grape is one of our best grapes that we grow here. So it's interesting and funny at the same time. When I kind of tease Dad about just wanting to do everything the best and only drinking the things that he likes, there's two different philosophies around it, right? There's the whole, well, it would be easier to grow native fruit here in Georgia, which mostly is like muscadine. And then there's some other native fruits that kind of grow well. There's Norton and the Blanc de Blanc and like new hybrids that were actually ready for the rain and that kind of weather. But that's not our philosophy. And we wanted to kind of change the trend because there was a negative, especially back in the early 2000s, there was like a negative feeling about Georgia wine, if not no opinion at all, because no one knew about it. So
Well, that's the whole reason why we like talking to people like you, because people in our country don't know that wine is being made there. And
that's correct.
actually, I would like to interject that we have a little bit of a commercial break we're going to go to, but I want to come back and taste one of your wines.
Sure.
We'll be right back.
At Toomey, 50 years of innovation starts with you. Every zipper, handle, and wheel perfected to perform so you can perform. Day in and day out. Toomey, made for you since 1975.
We are back and we are going to taste the first wine, which is the Sauvignon Blanc. Is it 100% Sauvignon Blanc?
Yes. Yes. This is 100% Sauvignon Blanc, correct.
And what style of winemaking do you feel that you were attempting?
All right. That's another complicated question, and it's good for you to rein me in because I'll just keep talking about things. But so our winemaker, Kristen, has been with us since 2016. And from day one, Bob has always been like, we want our wines to taste like some of the best wines in the world. And then it comes down to a very personal opinion about that, right? So for us, this Sauvignon Blanc, we went through this path of, well, what is our favorite style? What is the style that we like? So the fun part is tasting all the different kinds. And so whenever we came out with a wine, we did all this research, and Bob and we would go and talk to consultants and other wine shop owners, and they would say, here, try these 17 different styles.
Particularly with Sauvignon Blanc, because you can go very Loire Valley or you can go very New Zealand. And they're very, very different. So
Correct.
just
Correct.
on the nose, I mean, I've got a lot of citrus here.
Oh yeah.
Really, even like a white flower. I'm feeling this is more Loire than it is New Zealand.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. Yes, that's absolutely correct. So I was going to say that New Zealand was the opposite of the style of Sauvignon Blanc that we wanted to do. And
Yeah.
once we had discovered some of our favorite styles, we actually went to those wineries. There's a winery in Napa called Cliff Lady, or Cliff Lady is how they pronounce it.
Yep.
And they have this super creamy, super smooth. It's very fruit forward. And our style was, we didn't tend to like the green, herbaceous, uric. We didn't want
that very grapefruity, grassy.
Right.
This is like a Loire style, one of my favorites. That's like my favorite region. So, but really beautiful and has a nice crisp finish, lots of acidity. It makes your mouth water. Beautiful, bright, light color. It's very pretty.
It's super easy drinking, highly aromatic, right?
Yeah.
I think we have lemon zest, white peach, key lime, right? It's excellent with Asian food.
Totally.
Thai.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because we always like to talk about food pairings, recommendations that you would make. So maybe you can go through a couple again.
I mean, sure. I mean, that's the easy one, like you go through. I mean, if you're talking Thai spices, you're talking the Indian, the cumin, anything with a little bit of like
all those savory spices.
Savory spices. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no,
And it cuts through. I mean, any salad, any vinaigrettes that you go with, like these are excellent pairings with our Sauvignon Blanc.
I think it's delicious.
Yeah, it is. It's beautiful. I love the nose on it. So, and you made it just the way I like it. So,
yes, it's the right way. That's the right way.
Just the way I like it.
Well, tell our listeners, please, who are not near Cleveland, Georgia, where can they buy this amazing Sauvignon Blanc?
It's interesting you asked that. For now, as of right now, if you just go to our website, we can actually ship directly to anyone. We've spent the first 15 years here really developing a destination. And, at the beginning, when we're just making it up, it was, we tried to put ourselves in a couple wine shops and a couple really high-end restaurants. But there's an overarching, that's the next challenge, at least of my career, is trying to expand the awareness in our state alone that there are Georgia wines, that this is something that people don't even know about. And so both my mother and I are on these boards and commissions of, the statewide groups that are now, that it's taken us. I mean, since we started this business, there wasn't any. There was like a North Georgia little group, and then a Middle Georgia and a South Georgia. And so over the last 10 years, we've helped develop something called the Georgia Wine Producers, which is the statewide organization. So it doesn't matter what you're making wine from. I mean, it could be muscadine, can be fruit, can be honey, could be vinifera, which is what we are. It's all one big group. And then I got on the commodity commission, which is, there's 14 commodities in Georgia. Like you said, there's blueberries and chickens and walnuts and peaches and all the things. So now in the last 5 years, we just developed, and the Georgia legislature approved, and they had to vote on it as this big thing. And they created the Wine and Grape Commission, which now I'm on. And so our mission is to promote and educate and research Georgia wine. So it's funny you ask about it. There's this huge vacuum of knowledge and a lack of education of the Georgia wine industry. And so that's something I'm working on completely separate from doing all the stuff here with the winery.
Just at your vineyard. Well, you're true representative of the whole winemaking industry in Georgia.
We're
So
trying.
congratulations.
Yeah.
You have another hat, another hat to wear.
I was very, very disappointed, having spent this time recently in Savannah, visiting a number of wine shops, which is something I do routinely whenever I travel, just because of this podcast and the fact that we are tasting wines from all over the country. You could not find a Georgia wine. In fact, the only Georgian wine that you could find was from the Eastern European country
The Georgian wines.
of Georgia.
Yeah.
And in one wine shop, very small, bespoke shop, lovely, she was like arguing with me about this. She goes, "But oh, Georgia wines, you're talking about, Eastern Europe." I'm like, "I know, I'm talking about in your own state." She goes, "Oh," she goes, "No." She goes, and this
Yeah.
is the owner of like I said, a very bespoke wine shop in a very affluent neighborhood. I was really disappointed.
So you've
Oh,
got
yeah.
work cut out for you.
Oh yeah. 100%. 100%. And we love it, because like as you're tasting our wines now, like we love having the snooty wine people who think that there's not a good product here in Georgia, and all day long, because we've been doing it for 12 years where we do blind tastes against some of the best wines in the world. We know what we have, and we put our money where our mouth is. Like we invite the public, hey, come have a blind taste. We've
I
got
love
a
that.
sommelier who's actually joining us on Sunday, and he comes and it does
Oh,
at least once a year, and he'll come and do these tastings with us.
so we're tasting now your Cabernet Franc.
Oh yeah.
And I love that you're doing all these known varietals, but generally in the United States, people don't know about Cabernet Franc. As a general, right? It's Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot. So Cabernet Franc is, of course, the daddy of Cabernet Sauvignon, but it's becoming more popular. It hasn't been. If somebody goes to a restaurant or they're going on a wine list, the Cabernet Franc isn't always the first known choice for a lot of people.
Right.
Explain your beautiful wine here.
So this is exciting. This is we've been on a really interesting journey of trying to get our vinifera grown in Georgia to hold up to all of the wines that we love in California. And if I had much longer, we could go into a lot of details, but the short version is, even though we're growing the same plants here and in California, it may as well be grown on different planets.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The weather that we have and the weather that they have, the humidity, the rain alone is like.
What about the ground? What about the earth where you are, where these are being planted? Is it very rocky soil? Is it very
No. So I mean, so we're actually right at the base of Yonah Mountain. So like Yonah Mountain Vineyards, our property goes right up to the base of it. But again, in Georgia, like there's Georgia clay, we have sandy loam, we've got granite, we've got shale. So all the runoff from the mountain, and like we have this like valley that with our hills and everything. So there it is, strikingly similar to the Sonoma Valley out in California. We actually had our soil tested. Well, look at that. We had our soil tested, and they said it is strikingly similar to one of our favorite Chardonnay vineyards, which is Kistler. Which is
Kistler.
I don't know if you guys know Kistler.
Very well.
That was Bob and Jane's go-to Chardonnay. They said, if we're going to make a Chardonnay, we want it to be this style. This is what we like, the oaky butter.
That's a really interesting fact, what you just said about your soil and it's interesting for people that are listening, like in your head to recognize why, how does this happen in Georgia? How are you growing these grapes? And so you've got the soil, you've got probably a lot more, like you said, a lot more weather, probably a lot more rainy season and that's.
Yeah, I always joke. It's like our average rainfall during the growing season is like 100 inches. And California, they maybe get a half an inch during their growing season.
Yeah. So
the challenges are, when the vinifera vines get a lot of water, they overproduce in their leaves and the canopy, which you don't want, right? Because now the energy of the plant is going into the leaves as opposed to the grapes. So we have to constantly trim, and I'm talking like constantly, like as soon as they start to come out. We've got like 8 guys. We only have 15 acres planted, And by the time they start in one of our 4-acre plots, by the time they start at the top and they get to the bottom, they could go right back up to the top again. Like we could
Wow.
see 12 inches of growth in a leaf shoot in a weekend.
Wow.
That's insane. Wow.
So we're talking like kudzu growth, right? And they'll get 12 inches of growth in 5 months.
Right.
So it's very
That's
funny.
amazing.
It's very interesting about
A lot of
how
maintenance, my goodness.
so much maintenance. That's right. That's
So much
right.
maintenance. So let's talk about your Cab Franc. And nose, I mean, it's like spicy cherry. Is this a filtered wine or unfiltered? I'm looking.
No, it's filtered. Oh yeah,
It is
we
filtered.
filter that.
It's just
We
like a
filter that.
beautiful dense color, like a really nice deep ruby.
So yeah, I know I get with strawberry, vanilla, I'm getting leather with our French
totally
oak.
get the vanilla. Yeah. And is this new French oak or?
Yes, that's one of our things that, Bob, Dad, he's like, we want new French oak. We don't want American oak. We have maybe 10% Hungarian oak in the entire winery, but everything else is new French oak.
Yeah,
And then
you can smell it really. And the
then we
tannins on
only
this
use
are
it.
very nice. You get some silky tannins on here. It's not really rough, but it has a really nice tannin to it, but it's not overly done. Like I don't
That's
feel like I instantly need something to eat.
Right,
Speaking,
right.
speaking of eat, as you can tell, food is my thing. Same question all over again in terms of food pairings with this
Well,
wine?
this particular Cab Franc, it's to get to the food. Well, this is estate. So this is 100% grown right here.
Mhm.
That's right. I was going to tell you guys. So Tristan, over the years, in working with the Georgia fruit, one of our priorities was how to get it more fruit forward, more flavorful, and less watery, which it tended to be in the past.
Because
So
of all the rain.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
So up until 2018, we just did field blends of all of our red fruit, which is Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, Merlot, Petit Verdot, and Malbec. So we had the 5 Bordeaux grapes growing right here in Georgia. And finally, Tristan, he's been with us since 2016. He came up with an idea and a method of bleeding off 20 to 30% of the juice right at the destemming process. So before we even start doing all the maceration and strengthening the wine, doing all the stuff, he bleeds off 30% and then leaves the rest in the same with the skins. And so then it makes more intense fruit flavors and this more California style. And that was kind of one of a eureka moment. Like,
And you were blending the two together. You were blending
We
the
used
juice
to.
off? Okay.
that's
Yeah.
right. So starting in 2018 or 2019, actually, we started separating them out because then now we had more of an intense flavor, and we felt our vines were finally mature enough that we started making standalones. So just only in 2019, we made a standalone Cabernet Sauvignon, this Cabernet Franc, and a Merlot and a Petit Verdot, actually.
Wow.
So that's very exciting. This is very exciting to me because I love that this is our first standalone 2019. We're going to have it for the next 5 years. 100% estate grown standalone red wine, which before just couldn't hold up. So now to get back to your food question,
Yeah.
this wine in particular to me feels slightly less. It's a little more like a Pinot, so it's not as big and bold like our Petit Verdot or our Cabernet Sauvignon. So this is going to go with a little more delicate. It could go with chicken. I mean, this is going to go with something light, nothing too overpowering. In the French style where you don't want the wine to overpower the food, and this is a perfect food wine.
This is a really nice food wine. I mean, this is pasta. This is even, I would go into the roast chicken, roast vegetable area. Like, red wine is a nice style red wine like this is definitely flexible, more food friendly, flexible.
I'm getting
Definitely,
hungry.
definitely.
All right, let's go. We have another beautiful wine to taste. Another quick break to our next sponsor. We'll be right back.
Venue Magazine is timely and timeless. Contemporary art and design, food and wine, architecture, motoring, yachting, music and film, and more. Find it all at venuemagazine.com.
We're back, and Eric, I wanted to mention that the Cabernet Franc was a 2019, so it had
That's right.
a little bit of age on it, which really, maybe that's why I was talking, those tannins were really
Often.
smoky. They were
Yep.
nice.
That's right. Yeah, the tannins have gotten nice and soft and everything. And they do. All of our estate wines, they show better with age. And we make sure in the winery that all the steps that you need to do to make a wine age we make them in that style with the idea that they're all going to age.
Now we're going on to our final wine with you. This is Genesis.
Correct.
And explain what the whole meaning of your Genesis
Yeah,
and what is in this wine.
What is the genesis of Genesis?
Right. It is. It is. Let me tell you about the genesis of Genesis. So when we started, this is Dad's idea. He said, he goes, I only like, well, what did he say? Because I want to keep it simple. He didn't want to have all these wines that no one understood. He goes, let's keep it simple. And this is back in 2007, right? When we were first starting, he's like, let's just go with one red wine and one white. And so the white wine was going to be like Kistler, a Chardonnay. And the red wine, his favorite were the blends. He liked the Bordeaux blends. So the idea at the beginning, and my mother kind of still laments over this, is they thought they were just going to make a small amount of wine, sell it out of the back of a truck. It's no big deal. This is just another project for Dad. And then, of course, everything blows up.
That's a lot of work.
So much work. So my sister said, well, if this is going to be your first one, why don't you name the first wine just like the book of the Bible? The Genesis means your beginning, right? So the Genesis is the start. It's the beginning. They said, well, just name your red wine Genesis because it's your first one.
So makes sense. And what is in Genesis?
So Genesis is the Bordeaux blend, and it is definitely right bank in style. So it's Cabernet Franc, Merlot, Petit Verdot, Malbec. I left one out. Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc.
Yeah. But you said this is more of a Merlot based. So it's right bank. Correct. So it's more Merlot based, right?
Correct.
So we're looking for, what am I looking for here on the nose? I mean, it has like a more of a plummy kind of.
Yes. So Genesis. So every year to finish the story, Genesis was our first wine, and so every year we just continued to make a blend. So Genesis 2 was the second. After Genesis 1, they're all non-vintage. So, so we were always either mixing some of the leftover wine that we didn't blend from the first one into the next one, into the next one, next one.
Wow.
So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is actually Genesis 12, which was not necessarily 12 years ago. So sometimes we're burning through it more than a year. Sometimes it was less than a year. So the years don't actually line up with how many years we've had Genesis.
I would say the nose on this is different than the mouthfeel, like what I'm tasting.
That's interesting.
Like I'm smelling much more of a spice and a plum on the nose, and then when I taste it, I'm tasting the oak, I'm tasting the vanilla. The tannins are a bit more structured in this wine.
Yes. So I mean, we get a lot of dark fruit in this. A lot of
more dark fruit than the last one. Yeah.
Again, same thing. New French oak on Genesis every single time. You get black currants, blackberry compote. I mean, it's always been very fruit forward. It gets that almost a sweetness to it, but it is still, there's no RS in this wine. Baking spices.
Yes, I'm getting like a little like cinnamon or like just like a nice a savoriness to this. The tannins are beautiful. What is the alcohol content in this? I'm looking at the legs of my glass. This is up in, I can't see this.
Yeah, 14.6.
14.6. Yeah. I was feeling like this had some.
But there's no heat to it too, even though it's above 40.
Don't have that chili pepper thing in the back at all. It's really smooth, really soft in your throat. It's really nice. Now I wanted to go over, we want to do a food pairing with this. Can you tell us about your pricing structure with all of your wines?
The pricing structure is we make it up as we go.
Throw a dart on the thing.
Yeah, what are we gonna get? So I mean, no, it's the 20. I mean, so Genesis is our $65 bottle of wine. We've been it's been our number one seller since we started. So back in 2009, we had our Genesis 1. We sell the most of Genesis of all of our wines. And so we're always and this is kind of a philosophical standpoint too. Like we put so much effort and love and investment into the creation of these wines that we are probably on the higher end of anywhere in the Southeast of the prices of our wines.
Mhm.
But then if you come and you compare us to the wines that we are as good, if not better than in Napa and California, we're a bargain at half the price.
Mhm.
And now we know this. Like some of our other wines, we've got even higher end wines. Genesis is now like right at our upper medium level wines. We have a couple Cabernets that are 85, 95, and $105 are
Mm.
like our totem. Our totem is like our
Totem, yes. Yeah, I saw that on your site.
right. So when we do totem and we compare it, I mean, we compare it to $600, $800 bottle of wines, and
Jeez.
they are either in the ballpark or will win in our blind tests. So it's like we know what we have, and then the people who are really into wine, they love it too. I mean, we've got so many high-end clients that live here in the Metro Atlanta area, and they're like, "Why would I ever go out and pay those Napa prices? You guys are right here in our backyard, and your wine is as good." So
Yeah.
we love doing that. We love having the people who think there's not a good product.
And also people have to understand, these are your a family business. This is
Right.
supporting small upcoming businesses within a community, within a state, I mean, you're creating how many vineyards in Georgia? Did I see 70 or so, or 77 vineyards or
It-
something? So this is
Interesting. That's it. So when we started, we were number 12. That was in 2007. In the last 10 years, it is blowing up. There are over 120 wineries now in Georgia.
120. Wow. Yeah. So it's growing. It's a growing industry.
Well,
So
I think there's also a great movement in all parts of the country for eat local and drink local.
Yes.
And people really, really are beginning to embrace the benefits of eating and drinking local.
I'd love to be in Savannah, like where you were, and be able to have a beautiful local wine like that.
Except I couldn't
good
find it.
Yeah.
You need
Absolutely,
to
it
talk
is.
to your distributor about that.
Yeah.
Well, so that's an interesting point that you make up, right? In Georgia, to get our farm winery license, there it is the three-tier system, which is the most difficult system to get your
Mhm.
wines out. A lot of the very small wineries, when they start, right, they can't afford to put their wines through a distributor, right? Because a distributor, they take a cut, and then when they sell to the wine shop takes a cut. So now you're looking at 30 to 50% right off the top.
Right.
So that is a model. There are some wineries in Georgia that are more commercial based, and they're like, we're just going to turn and burn a low cost product, and we're going to sell it to distributors and just get out as many, and we make $2 per bottle. Whereas dad is like, I don't want to do that. I want to have a high-end product. I don't want to have to go through a distributor because you can't get out of that relationship once you're in it.
Yes.
And so we got our own
And
distribution
they're
license.
not marketing your product either. Distributors
Not at
are not marketing that. I know a lot of unhappy winemakers that they can sign with distributors, and you still have to go out there and be that front person and get people to know about your wines. And that's
right.
really an endless task on your part.
It's a little overwhelming. And Georgia, we are a little behind in the wine industry. And I know other states help subsidize their own markets. California, for example, there's a lot of state revenue.
Money. Yeah, the legislation really supports it. Right.
They pay back into it. So their wines are now subsidized by the state, and then they're selling California wines here in Georgia. That's a subsidized product, and ours are not.
Right.
But even though we're local, like we can't compete with those prices because now you've got a distributor like, well, here's 700 wines, and we will cost average them out and give them all to you at this one price. And we're like, we've got our 5 wines here, and like it costs us this much money, but this is how we'll give you the wholesale discount. Again, it's a perception, and I know from a top to bottom thing, that's going to be one of our first goals is just getting the perception that, hey, there is Georgia wine. Hey, restaurants should have it. Hey, local shops and everything should be carrying local. Everyone wants farm to table. Like, where's the farm to table wine?
Yep. Where's the farm to table wine? And so you really do rely on your wine club, right? People, you must have a significant amount of people that are buying your wines online through your wine club.
Yes. Again, 99% of all of our sales are from people who have shown up here.
Mhm.
Yes, okay.
Not all that uncommon.
Yeah. They gotta,
And
they want to meet you, they want to see the venue, they want to taste the wines and go, wow.
right, right. And it's this beautiful venue. So like people just love it. It's only an hour and a half from Atlanta. When you drive up here, it feels like you're driving into a different country.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
like the
The
pictures don't even
topography is
discuss
so different, right?
so different from the like the Atlanta hustle and bustle. Um, but yeah, it's our club is again, it's not an overwhelming level. It's not like the model of California, where they have a tasting room and that may be less than 5% of their revenue. Whereas our tasting room is like 90% of our revenue,
Right.
and we have a club that's kind of a supplemental thing that people have come and we
After
try to
they've
create
already
the best,
experienced.
easiest club to do. So we
Mhm.
ship it to them, which is a little bit of a California model, but California doesn't see the number of people that we will see in their tasting room.
Wow.
It blows them away when we go out there and talk to their growers and talk to other of our consultants and our brokers out there. Uh, on a busy fall, like September, October are our busiest months, we could see anywhere from 800 to 1,000 people in a day.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. So
So
you're
we're
the
like,
destination. They're coming, one, to taste your beautiful
Right.
wines, and you're having blind tastings, you're having weekend events, you're having, of course, hosting weddings, and I mean, all of these things are just perpetuating your new customer base, which
that's
is
right. And we
wonderful.
kind of grew organically, right? Because it's like we didn't invest a ton of money in just like getting our name out there. There was not a
Yeah.
huge spend to like advertise and do anything. So it's now that it's been 15, 18 years, the people who come, like they tell their friends and then they bring them, and then it's a little bit of a compounding effect.
Mhm.
So now I feel like it's we are a little bit more well known in the Atlanta area because more, it's like our goal is 100% of everyone who comes here has an amazing time, and then they want to come back and they want to bring their friends. So it
Oh,
is
it's
coming to
beautiful.
a nice
Yeah, the wines
moment.
are excellent. Just one quick question for you. Does the state of Georgia hold wine competitions? Do you guys enter in those, win the gold medal and get a picture with the governor and all that kind of stuff?
So yes and no. We only put ourselves, again, this is Dad's philosophy of this. We only put ourselves into the San Francisco Chronicle because it's the most well known.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to waste our time with like, like Joe Schmo over here, putting together his Chevron gas station wine competition and like people who it's his buddy Bill and his other guy over here. They're the judges. Good luck, everybody. So Dad was like, we're not doing that. We're only going to do the biggest and the best,
Right.
which is San Francisco Chronicle.
Yes.
So every year we put in, and every year we get almost every single medal. This year we got
Awesome.
11 medals, including 2 double golds.
Amazing. Amazing. And it's in Georgia. This is it. I mean, this is exciting.
Well,
I get so excited about
it
this.
is, and I'll just share with you because our whole mission here is educating people as to the fact that there are great wines being
Mhm.
made in all 50 states.
Yeah.
We just recently recorded an episode, which is not yet out, with the owner and general manager and winemaker from a winery in New Jersey, who just won multiple double golds in the San Francisco Chronicle
Nice.
competition. And listen, we're from the Northeast, and most people think of New Jersey is the opening of the TV show The Sopranos. And here there are double gold medal winning wines that are being produced there, and clearly from what we've just tasted, Sandra,
Yeah.
in Georgia as well.
Beautiful
So
wines in Georgia, and a passionate family that kind of serendipitously stumbled into being winemakers. I mean,
so if we come to visit, do we get to hang out with Dad? Because I got to tell you, you're delightful, but he sounds like a real piece of work.
He's a piece of work. 30% of my job is just keeping him out of trouble. And
that's
no, so
good.
our tours, right? Like I said, we come from a musical family, and at the beginning of all of our tours on Saturday, Dad and I will actually play music for the group.
Wow.
Oh, fun.
He loves to do a name that tune. He's been a piano player and an accordion player his entire life. And he's like, oh, well, we got to do a song for the guests, right? So every Saturday, like he and I will play like a 1 minute song and try and get people to guess what the song is. And then we do our whole tour. Yeah, Dad is here every day. I had built him a house right here on the property, so he lives here. He's got the shortest commute, 30 seconds down the hill, and he comes down, and he loves talking to everybody.
It sounds like a dream retirement.
It does.
It really does.
Absolutely. So,
And it's so fun to meet you. Thank you for your
what a delight.
time.
Thank you so much, Eric. We appreciate it. It was great to get to know a little bit more about Yonah Mountain.
Your website is,
YonahMountainVineyards.com.
and Yonah is YONAH, so everybody
Correct.
knows. YonahMountainVineyards.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for being with us this afternoon, and keep up the great work. This wine was delicious.
A pleasure to meet you. All right, so now I'm just going to pour you a little more
That's good.
of the. Oh,
Thank you.
I'm going to join you. We both enjoyed this bottle of wine. Georgia. I mean, this was so surprising. This was really. I don't know what I was expecting. I think my inner wine snob came out, and I was like, oh God, here, let's see what the heck we're going to get in Georgia. Shocking.
Amazing wines. I love the fact that they do these blind taste tests.
Yeah.
And
Against
Against-
Bordeaux and against Napa Cabs and against,
I mean, good for them. Clearly,
brave.
this started off as a passion
Mhm.
play for Eric's dad, Bob. But it's turned into a business for them, and
Wow.
they really deserve the awards that they're winning,
They
and,
absolutely deserve
and
their
they
awards.
deserve your attention. Don't sleep on the Georgia wines.
No,
Don't sleep on the Yonah Mountain wines.
this was
For sure.
eye-opening. It really was. Cheers.
Cheers.
Please remember to subscribe to Wine Across America on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube.